What's up, everybody? Welcome to We Have Cool Friends, the cool show where we interview our cool friends about the cool things they're doing. I'm one of your hosts, Greg Miller, alongside my cool friend, Max Scoville.
Hey, Greg.
Hey, Max Scoville. How are you?
Hey.
That's Barrett in the back.
Hi, Barrett.
Yeah.
Hi, Max.
You guys know each other. You work together.
We go way back.
Yeah, way, way back. As do we, Max Scoville.
Yeah, we've known each other for, almost a decade now?
More than that? Yeah, more than that,
Maybe?
right?
Yeah.
Because when I met you, obviously, when IGN was trying to do the current TV show on Current Network back in the day.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace, all of that information that
Flew
never
too close to
happened,
the sun,
right?
yeah.
I mean, what that would have been, I was still in the old place. I was like 2009, maybe 8.
That was
even?
summer of 2009,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And here you are.
In a minute, here I
Being an
am.
adult, you know what I mean?
We lived, yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
we live somehow against all
little
odds.
silver around the edges, but we're still doing
Me
it.
especially.
Yeah.
You look great.
Yeah.
How old are you now?
Old 30 and old enough to forget I think it's 32, 33. 33. That's the one.
Yeah, I see. You're still super.
You know, you lose count though.
Oh no. Well, I mean, it was always 21.
Mm-hmm.
When you hit 21, you could legally drink. Then it was like, I think they've even changed this now. 25 was when you could rent a car.
Yeah.
And then after that, who cares?
I think 25 to 30, there's no reason to really keep track of it.
Sure.
And then 30, you're like, okay. And then it's like, I don't know. I think I started rounding up.
Yeah.
Where for the entirety of being 32, I was like, I'm 33 years old. I shouldn't be doing this. And then
Yeah.
I'm like, actually turned 33 and thought I was 32. So off to a great start.
Yeah, I know.
Doing well.
It's what I do with Portillo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As soon as we get into the new year, how old is your dog? Like right now, he's 15 this summer. Like
Yeah.
that's how old this dog is. He's
287 months.
old. Exactly. Really
like-
make him
they're
work
like-
for
they're
it. How
like
much do you want to
babies.
know this
Yeah.
information? Yeah.
Have you heard the thing about dog ages where like you always think it's supposed to be 7 years, but apparently it scales and there's
Oh.
like a weird curve.
So it
to
starts slowing down at some point?
Yeah, it starts
Okay.
slowing down. So they reach a point where they reach adulthood and it kind of plateaus.
Yeah. Well, it's
So-
like, yeah, 7, right? They're seniors or something ridiculous like that. Yeah.
Something like that. I was trying to do the math to figure out how to have a joint birthday party with my dog when
Sure.
we were exactly the same age.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, but it would be like a weird off week for me. It would just be some not near my birthday, but
Sure.
not near his, but try to
I mean, you got to do it.
Yeah.
You got to do it.
I'm not a mathematical man, really.
No. Well, who wants to sit there and do that? Even with Portillo, like, when is he born? I'm like, it's a J month, June or July. I don't
Yeah.
know. I got him in October. That's what I remember. That's the real time. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's what we celebrate around here.
Yeah, that's the trick.
Not when he was with a bunch of other little puppies. Who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a little cheat code. I adopted my dog on my anniversary of meeting my wife. Oh. So it's the two kind of flow into each other. And
Sure.
she's like, I never forget our anniversary because it's our dog's birthday.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, that was also May 1st. That's an easy one. Just remember May, and then the first day of the boom, we're done.
Yeah,
You know what
tax
I mean?
day.
Easy.
Yeah.
No, that's April 15th, Max. You've been doing your taxes all
Not
right.
a mathematical man.
Oh, no, Max. Your IRS is coming knocking soon on all these delayed taxes you have.
Yeah, probably. I don't know.
So how have you been? I haven't talked to you in forever.
I've been good. Yeah.
You're married now?
I'm married.
How long has that been now?
Year and change.
See, that you got to figure out. You can't.
Yeah.
You can't stumble through that question.
No, it was the week after Comic-Con 2017.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. Coming up then. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, middle summer.
Yeah.
But yeah, we in May on my dog's birthday we'll have been together for 10 years. So yeah.
When is the dog's birthday? Do
The
we have
dog's
that? Usually-
birthday is May 3rd.
Okay, there you
which
go.
is right before May 4th, which I can remember because
May the
Star
Fourth be
Wars.
with you.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad to,
Yeah.
all the mnemonic devices,
Yeah.
the little things you do to make sure you have a cheat sheet on how not to forget any of this information.
No, I'm doing well. Keeping busy. Last year was, I think, the busiest year of my life, which was, and I've remarked upon this to a bunch of people, but 2019 felt like it was simultaneously about 25 minutes and also 3 years long.
Sure.
So kind of having this weird respite in January to be like, oh, I don't have to get on a plane. I don't have any crazy stuff coming on. It's actually something sort of resembling a routine.
Yeah.
Is great, but I'm also like kind of chewing at my straps and clawing up the wallpaper. So.
Yeah, I flew more last year than I ever have before, and Jen as well. And so, like, I think it was yesterday when I came home, she was like, not over Portillo, but like she was kind of like, I need a break from him, because usually I get him in 4-day stretches, then we're gone for 3 days, and then we come back, and it's great to be with him.
Yeah.
And now it's like he's just following her room to room, no matter what she does.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear I wasn't the only one. I felt last year was just a busy ass year.
I mean, I think it was weird because it's, obviously our lives are anchored around video games, and so it was a weird not off year, but it was a weird year for games, right? As everybody started saving up for this year for the big pushes and stuff. But there still was so much going on and so many events and so many things to go cover, right? And I mean, you know better than anybody the stuff you go host with live streams for IGN.
It keeps you busy.
Yeah,
and that's part of the reason I haven't ever been on Kind of Funny, because it's either.
Have you never ever been on?
I've never been on
Kind of.
maybe something in like a field thing, but I've never been here before.
Sure. Wow.
So yeah, and I mean, I started to have like. I don't know. I felt like guilty. I was like, am I not playing well with others? And getting like a little inferiority complex.
No. It's not that at all. We love you. You know that.
No,
I hope that it gets expressed to you enough through the grapevine of us talking to other people about you.
Yeah.
Brian was just on.
There's a little picture of me back
You're there. Right there next to Brian, right?
That's what it was. Next to your dog and Trisha Hirschberger. It's wonderful.
Once we got, it's a great section to be on. That's a great section of the wall to be on. Don't worry about it.
I like that you got just the best picture of Goldfarb up there.
Yeah, that's
just
Well, it's like you said. Oh, they can't even see it on camera. That's how much you love Goldfarb.
Yeah,
he sucks. Why'd he leave? You know what I mean? Yeah, Nick didn't. It's not that Nick didn't try. I just think we put too much on Nick for the walls. Because a lot of them, like you were saying, man, that's a low-res picture of Troy Baker. And it's like, it is, right?
I love that effect. There's got to be some like complex German compound word for it when somebody's like, hey, do you have a picture of you? And you're like, nah, figure it out. You'll find something. And they find like the worst one.
Yeah.
Like I think I did Pockets Full of Soup with Jared, and he pulled a picture of like a selfie that I took in an airplane bathroom.
Yeah.
So
I think Jared like purposely like would find the worst pictures of you on the internet.
And that's the question you have with Jared, right? Is he trying to bring everybody down a peg because he's the nicest guy? And we all know there's a dark side to this man, and that probably is where he lets it out.
He's got a squirrely streak, that man.
That's just say the least. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, this is We Have Cool Friends. Each and every week, usually we come to you with a new episode. Remember, it's part of Kind of Funny's irregularly scheduled programs, meaning that this subs in for Internet Explorers, they sub in for us, whatever. Max is on this week. That's great. Remember, you can subscribe to the show over on iTunes. You can get it on youtube.com/kindoffunny. You can get it on podcast services around the globe. But most importantly, you can go to patreon.com/kindoffunny, where you can get it ad-free. You can get it. Your questions read on the show like, so many of you did in the friend zone this week. And of course, you can just get all sorts of cool perks and stuff like that. Remember, in the month of January, if you go over there and raise your pledge or give us a new pledge, you get your name written on the brand new wall in the Kind of Funny studio. Like, one of the new walls we're putting up in the studio. It sounds weird. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, not this studio. There's a new studio. There'll be new walls.
That'd be weird if you just started adding walls. Like
here,
you just wall in Kevin.
Oh, man, we tried. He'd gnaw right through it. You ever seen the chompers on that kid? He just went to the dentist, too. I'm terrified. He sharpened them.
Got to use rebar.
It's worse. Yeah, you know what I mean? We're sponsored today by Honey, Raid, and Robin Hood, but I'll tell you about that later. Max Scoville. Here's what I want to do. I need you to give me top-level elevator pitch. Who is Max Scoville?
Who is Max Scoville? He is the guy who took over for Greg Miller at IGN.com. No, I'm a Hawaiian shirt wearing sort of alternate reality pet detective who covers pop culture and video games instead of finding pets in the street. I think that game journalist and pet detective are kind of on the same level there.
Oh, sure, yeah. Same skill set.
I love video games. I love comic books. I love sci-fi action movies. Action figures, a lot of toys.
Yeah.
Best friends with Brian Altano, who's been on the show before. God, I'm so bad at this.
No, you're doing
so
great. That's
it,
because now the questions start.
Yeah.
So I want to start with number one. Where and when did you decide the Hawaiian shirt thing was going to be your thing?
It actually, you can watch it happening in real time on the Destructoid show, and I don't know. I want to say it was Far Cry 3.
Yeah?
I want to say Far Cry 3 convinced me that was like, there's something broke in my brain where that was the first office job I ever had.
Yeah.
And you start kind of getting that weird, like, you get in that weird flow where you're like, oh, like offices, even if they're fun offices, are still like, you get a little bit cabin feverish, you know? And I think it was like, it's like the beginning of like Joe versus the Volcano or Brazil. I get those two mixed up for some reason, where like, it's just the guy in the gray office and he's got like the little calendar with the palm trees on it. And it's like, you kind of understand that Hawaiian shirts and like the whole casual Friday thing that you see in like Office Space is like, it's sort of this way of being like, oh, this is how dudes who are used to wearing suits try to like loosen up and unwind. And so I started wearing it kind of ironically, like, yeah, it's like I'm wearing this shirt, this loud shirt, almost passive aggressively to sort of
thumb your nose at the man.
And I mean, we're in San Francisco. We're in the tech industry where like jeans and like t-shirts are just kind of standard. Like nobody's gonna. You look weird if you wear a suit, you know. So it's totally there's no, So it's just me being like, you can't stop. You can't put boundaries on me, man. I'm gonna cut loose and wear a stupid shirt. It's like, no, that's fine. No one's gonna stop you.
No one's trying to stop you. That's not happening.
But yeah, I just kind of, I don't know, gradually kind of became my thing, you know.
Yeah.
Like I just, and it. Then weirdly they started being in, you know. They got
They
fashionable.
came back around.
Yeah. and which is weird. It's always like, I don't know, I wasn't doing it to be cool or because it was fashionable, and it was.
You just dug it.
There's definitely a stretch there where, like, you know, my wife was like, "You gonna wear that? Is that a thing?
Really
you're going outside of the house with that?"
Yeah.
No, I think there's something kind of wonderfully, like, sort of archetypal about that, like that tropical vacation, like the you know, the big funny drink with the umbrella in it.
Yeah. For me, I always talk about it like it's exactly what you're talking about, but with school. Where I went to Catholic school, private Catholic school, kindergarten through my senior high school. So it wasn't until I went to Mizzou that I was out of a uniform. Like every day was a uniform, right? And so when I graduated high school and was getting ready for Mizzou, I decided to do everything at once I always wanted to do.
Oh boy.
Which meant I wore red Converse, I wore tube socks, I wore jean shorts, I wore a wrestling t-shirt every day to school, and then over it I wore a Hawaiian shirt, and then I had the black rim glasses and blue hair, all blue hair.
Dude, there was probably a stretch there where we kind of looked like palette swaps.
100% I bet, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think like there's that age where you're sort of, I don't know, presumably you get that out of your system, but for whatever reason when I was like 20, my uniform every day was like, it was like Dickies shorts, high top Vans, and striped tube socks.
Yeah.
And I remember getting a job where they're like, you have to wear pants. And I'm like, the gall of these people.
Yeah. For me, it was in school, yeah, where it was like, you can only wear all black tennis shoes or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't wear Converse.
I didn't even,
like, this is the stupidest reason. What does this have to do with anything?
I didn't even have that excuse. I like, you know, I went to public school. I go where the hell I want and frequently did. And then I think I was just like, yes, this is a good look.
I blame a lot of the movies we watch and TV shows we watch because there'd always be those characters, those quirky characters in there that had a thing.
Yeah.
I remember for a while watching something, I was like, that guy's always has like a sucker or a toothpick. What if I always had a sucker? What if that was my thing?
Yeah.
I remember having this conversation. What if that was my thing?
What if I was a chimera of things? No, I think it was the summer that Clerks 2 came out, and people were like, you look like if Jay and Silent Bob had a kid. And I'm like, that's
okay.
Why won't girls talk to me? What's going wrong here? But yeah, I don't know. I guess a fashion sense is a thing you kind of acquire over time. You get used to it, figure it out. But then if you have a job of talking about video games and I don't know, like are you gonna interview the people who create Crash Bandicoot? I'm like, yeah. It's like I'm not gonna dress up like Tom Brokaw, you know.
Yeah,
there's a certain
100%.
silliness that comes with it. So a Hawaiian shirt kind of works for that, I guess.
How does the journey to getting there start? How do we start to get where you're going to be interviewing the people who made Crash Bandicoot?
God, that's a good question. Start doing it. I think that's the big piece of advice to like get into kind of making things is start making things, and that way, if somebody asks you, "What do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to do? What's your dream job?" and then you say, "Well, it's this thing," and they say, "Well, do you do anything like that?" You say, "Yes, I have a blog, or I have a YouTube channel, or I Twitch stream," you know, and it's.
Is that what it was for you? You saw like what EGM? You saw stuff on the internet, and you were like,
remember I was obsessively reading Sean Baby's website.
Hell yeah.
Yep. And I would I did like the exact wrong way to get into old games, which was most people are like, what are the best NES games of all time? And he's like, here are the worst video games ever made. And I'm like, hell yeah, Deadly Towers. And I like boot up a ROM, and I'm like, that's true. This does suck. But like, I don't know, a lot of that. I was always really into Toy Fair magazine, Wizard magazine.
Oh my god.
I think I wrote a letter to Toy Fair for like a school project in high school.
Yeah.
I was always terrible in school. I always hated it. It was always kind of like...
Where'd you grow up?
Initially East Coast, but then I moved to California when I was 15, and so Sonoma, so like hour north of here, wine country. Where Tim Schafer's from, actually.
In the Bromley estate.
Yep, the Bromley estate, Brian Posehn. There's a long heritage of gigantic dorks who come out of Sonoma.
Nothing to do but read comics and drink wine.
Exactly. But no, I started doing running a live journal when I was probably 14 or 15, and just would, you know, not knowing it, would be like writing essays or features or, you know, listicles or articles, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'd go to school and they're like, you have to write an essay. And I'd be like, ugh. And then I'd go home and write like 800 words about how my day was. Which just not connecting that. And then I went to community college and wound up becoming the school paper cartoonist because I'd gone to school with the guy who was the IC, and he was like, hey, do you want to draw dumb pictures for our newspaper? And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And he's like, you could also write a column. And I was like, yeah, okay. And just started doing like, you know, humor columns. And then gradually that sort of just... I think I went to art school and reconnected with Bromley, and that turned into an internship, which is where I met you. And
you talk about reconnected. So did you know him in Sonoma growing up?
I had sort of an on and off thing with his cousin, and there was how's it going? There was some. He was like a cool older kid.
Sure.
And there was sometimes she had like a party and we're all hanging out, and he came over with a burned copy of The Room.
Wow.
Before that was a thing.
Yeah,
he was
yeah.
like, you guys got to watch this movie, and I was like, 20 and a half or 20. It was like my very early foray into like drinking alcohol for fun. And there was nothing in the house. And I was like, what if we made up our own drinks? And I proceeded to invent a cocktail that I called the Hello Kitty, which was sake and Pepto-Bismol. Because it was,
Did you have to stir it all the time? It sounds like something that would separate.
Yeah, no, it definitely separated. It's definitely not a good thing to make at all. Yeah. But upon seeing that, Scott was like, who is this kid? Like, who is this? And of course, I was wearing the tube socks and the backwards trucker hat and board shorts and everything. And he was like, who is this cartoon character? And so he took a liking to me and was like, when he was producing what would have been the sort of current TV IGN branded show, they needed somebody to do weird photoshops and write sketches and write video gamey goofs and stuff. And he was like, hey, you're in college, you'll work for free, come be an intern. And I was like, okay. And that was sort of my first taste of working in the video game entertainment industry. And I was like, I need to do more of this.
And I think it's something that everybody would take for granted now, because I think everybody knows you, right? Like I'm talking about people listening or watching right now versus also people in the industry. Mm-hmm. But I will never forget meeting you the first time and being like, this kid is electric. Because I remember, I'll never forget meeting Bromley the first time in his tuxedo shirt and being like, who the fuck, what is going on with these?
That's the trick, is wear a recognizable shirt. Wear a weird shirt.
Totally. Yeah. But no, it wasn't even that, because I don't remember what you were wearing. I just remember the energy you gave off, right? And it was excitement, unabashed, like unafraid excitement for everything that was happening.
Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we had this is to explain exactly how 2009 this was. We were doing a sketch, get this, that was called Left for The Office, which was what if Left 4 Dead was in the office.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And we got you to play the boomer.
Yeah, of course. I was born to play this part.
Not the
first time I think I ever wore a half shirt. Had my gut hanging out.
Not the boomer in the the nomenclature of 2020.
No. This is a different life.
This is the vomiting.
Do we need to explain
boomer.
what Left 4 Dead is to the children?
There's rumors that they're canceling the third one or what. But no, so we had you put on zombie makeup.
Yeah. And it was the best zombie makeup I'd ever seen as a zombie fan.
And I was using like liquid latex, which smells like if skunks pissed gasoline.
Exactly.
It's just the worst.
Exactly
Super Band-Aids is a good smell of it. But we, I remember you were like apocalyptically hungover. You were like, I could like see it in your blood.
So yeah, hold on. What I'm doing right now is slacking to the control computer the photos from this shoot.
Oh boy.
Because I don't delete anything on my iPhone.
God.
I don't delete anything on my iPhone.
Oh man,
so
I don't think I've seen these.
Disturbing how much shit I have in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we were super excited at IGN because we were gonna make a TV show.
Yeah.
And these current TV people came over. Current being the Al Gore TV channel thing that was happening at the time.
Yeah.
And
Fox, it was Fox News Corp owning IGN at the time.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Oil and water
it was Bromley, somebody else, and then Vasilis. And everybody came in, and it was this energy. And we're like, oh my god! And so like we were gonna shoot stuff for the pilot, and yeah, it was like I was gonna go down there, and we were gonna do the Left for the Office, Left 4 Dead parody. And literally the night before, this is when I used to throw rockin' SingStar parties at my place in Brisbane, California.
Yes.
And we threw a fucking banger, let me tell you. And I woke up top 3 hangovers.
Oh boy,
top 3 hangovers.
You know what helps with a hangover is liquid latex all over your face.
Not only that, then I was the guy who was the boomer spitting green puke on everybody. So I had I don't like soup, period. I had pea soup in my mouth. But before we even got there, I woke up blind, hungover, stumbled to Caltrain. As I turned the corner to get into the Caltrain station, vomited all over, just in real life, vomited all over it.
Oh,
got there.
Oh,
you guys put the makeup on me. I just laid there dying, just like on my death's doorstep, trying to make this happen.
God, yeah.
But yeah,
you were very nice. You were very patient with me.
Well, I was like, it's like, again, I think it's such a time capsule of who we were, what the internet was, and how much of an opportunity this was. Mm-hmm. Where it was, I remember, like, this is before, this is 2009, right? This is long before Up at Noon. This is long before anybody, when you thought IGN video, you thought Chobot. Oh, we'll put Chobot on everything. That's how it's going to be. So to be like, oh, we want to put Greg in some of these sketches and shit, I was like, I'm not blowing this opportunity. So yeah, I was thrilled to be there shooting this pilot. I'll work as long as I need to, no matter how hungover. I think at one point you guys gave me a trash can. Like I was so bad in the office, you were like, here's a trash can in case you puke in here too. I'm like, great, thank you so much. But it was also like such a great bonding experience, right? Of us all being thrown up there. This is Max's work here, of course, making me look like a zombie, of course. Amazing work.
That's just toilet paper and liquid latex and makeup from the store.
Yeah,
you know?
And a hangover.
And Santa, you can see the bloodshot eyes there, a little bit brighter.
You can see the blood is actually trying to leap through your skin. It's amazing.
But no, can you show the other ones too? Like everybody gathering around. Well, there's Bromley, of course, in one of the shots where we had puked all over.
Yeah, he played like the HR guy who was like,
he was like the normal guy.
He was like, Boomer, I need those TPS reports or whatever. And he was like, and just, we had one of those.
It's coming up. No, we have. If you go, there it is.
Oh yeah, there it is.
Whatever that thing was. Yeah, filled with puke.
Yeah, it's one of those like pool squirt guns. Those idiot super soakers.
And what I love is that you look at this and you'd think, oh my God, look, they're shooting in IGN's offices. Remember, this is 2009. IGN's offices were not where they were. This is Current TV's office. And every downtown San Francisco office building looks exactly the same.
I had a, God.
Yeah.
He looks so weird without glasses. Yeah, that's. I haven't seen these pictures in ages. God,
probably
bizarre.
Since the day the guy took. Right. Show me the next one, Bear.
Oh man.
Setting up more stuff because it was a real working office.
Practical effects.
Yeah, exactly. And then
and we're shooting on a Saturday.
More Bromley. Yeah. And then here, was the one of so many of us laying around, letting our faces dry. Yeah. And then there you are in the background there. Little did we know.
Yeah.
11 years later.
Yeah, right.
We'd be talking about this one photo of you blurry in the background.
This bizarre origin story.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, that's one hell of a way to meet somebody. You know.
Yeah. But so that was your crash course to the doorstep of the industry. What happens from there?
So that show got sort of preemptively canceled, which is a kind of good taste.
The whole deal went kabah.
The entertainment industry in general, which I think it was about to maybe get, like, we shot a pilot, I think, and then it was maybe going to go to air. And the whole thing with Current TV, which seems like so, I guess ahead of its time in that it's still something that we're dealing with, but it was a television network that was based on the internet. So it was taking stuff from the internet and putting it on TV, as opposed to the other way around, which is where everything's going now. But,
the way you should do it, probably.
Yeah. But then they were like, what's a great thing on the internet? It's IGN. Let's go make a TV show about IGN. But
and it was the same thing, right? It's the same, dude. To this day, I have meetings with people who want to make TV, and they're like, it's the same pitch as 2009. We're gonna do G4 right. We're gonna do it the way it should have been done. 11 years later, I'm in meetings with people saying the exact same thing.
Yep. And sort of one thing led to another, and I wound up doing sort of freelance video work for Destructoid.com, which had entered a similar deal with Revision 3 to make a Destructoid TV show on the internet, this time just directly on the internet. And Revision 3 is actually made up of a bunch of XG4 people, which is, I think it's why it's called, I think technically Revision 1 would be like ZDTV, Tech TV, and then G4 being Revision 2 and then Revision 3 being its own thing.
Gotcha.
And so it was weird because there were a ton of current people who'd gone over to Rev 3. But Rev 3 was basically producing this Destructoid show in-house, and I got, I think I auditioned to be the host for that, but they'd already found somebody. And then it was Jonathan Holmes, and he moved to San Francisco to take over the show and shot a bunch of episodes, and then had to leave because it wasn't panning out or wasn't making enough money to kind of sustain him living there.
Yeah.
And then they asked me to take over because I was local and I was there, and I basically had been showing up and manning the cameras, which meant just standing there. Like they were like, don't touch them, but stand
in case
behind
something
them.
goes wrong, grab it.
It was like being an extra behind the scenes. It's weird. But yeah, it was kind of one of those things, again, much like the sort of the current thing, was just showing up early, being like, hey, I want to be a part of this. I'll, just enthusiastically try to show up in the right place in the right time. And, if anyone asks, hey, what are you trying to do to, get your foot in the door? It's like, well, I'm kicking the edge of the door where it meets the wall as hard as I possibly can. And whenever it opens, I jam it in there. So that kind of actually worked out. And then Revision 3 hired me full time. And then we kind of Rev 3 Games launched. And then I stuck around there for a while. And then I ducked out of Rev 3 Games to go. They got bought by Discovery.
Plus Anthony Carboni, terrible person.
Yeah, I can't stand working with the man. He's just horrendous.
Exactly.
No, I'm kidding. But no, so I went off and I basically got Destructoid asked if I wanted to sort of take over their video channel the entire time, which was sort of like a, hey, here's a it's it's a fixer-upper, you know? Like, here's a channel that's been around for ages. Do you want to try to, like, launch programming on that? Which was a gigantic learning experience. And then while I was trying to figure that out, you guys were getting ready to launch Kinda Funny, which meant jumping ship from IGN. And then Brian threw my name in the hat and was like, hey, just get Max in here. And so I sort of have this, I've almost made, like, a career out of being the guy who takes over hosting for someone else. So first it was the Structoid show, which people have sort of managed to retcon. And then... I think I had 3 interviews with Fran.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, where he's like,
so sorry.
You know, he's like, let's get coffee, and I'm like, sure, coffee, and then Fran has coffee, and he's like, just like a claymation character, and he's like, all right, so pitch me, all right, interview me, and I'm like, what? And he's like, go, and I'm like, what? What are we doing?
All right,
and then, but it worked out, and then I got to take over for you, and kind of got
5 years now.
Yeah,
it's 5 years.
It has been 5 years as of the 5th. So and it's been a hell of a journey, and it's you have some big shoes to fill. I mean, or wait, no, I had some big shoes to fill. You left big shoes.
There's shoes over there.
Yeah.
I think you've done a fine job.
Thank you.
Don't worry about that.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's people are always like, I feel like they're always fond of the thing that just stopped happening.
Oh, of course.
Yeah,
I keep joking around here of like, take it in now because pretty much soon the comments that Kinda Funny made the best content in the spare bedroom will stop, and it'll be when we're in the new studio. Kinda Funny made the best stuff when they were above that comic shop.
Totally.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's always the way it is.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of bowed out on Beyond to let Dornbush take over and host that, and we're already seeing that. People are like, bring Max back, and I'm like, can you not, please?
You guys hated that.
Break. Yeah. So there's
Is this the longest you've been at a place? 5 years now? In terms of professional career, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Easily.
How's that feel?
Which is it's good. You kind of get this. It's a mixture of wanting to like actually put down roots and be comfortable, but also recognizing the sort of volatile nature of the field we're in.
Sure.
You know, the fact that, I mean, to be at someplace 5 years when 10 years ago it was an unrecognizable landscape. People are always like, what should I do? What's the future of the career? And I'm like, we're the field. And I'm like, when I started doing this, Twitch TV was called Justin TV, and nobody knew about it.
No one took it seriously.
Was
nobody knew what it was.
People were streaming porn on there.
Yeah.
It was like, that's where you'd go to watch like bootleg movies with like Chinese subtitles. You know? So I mean, things change, and it's good, definitely good to have the security of having like a massive company to work with.
Of course, yeah.
You know, I'd say it's definitely a double-edged sword, but and you know this from experience.
Of course.
But, the one thing that's really kind of exciting is to have other people who can kind of like, you know, shoulder the weight when, you know, you can, like when I was doing, you know, the Structoid thing where it was like basically me and my buddy Bill Zoker and, you know, maybe 2 people who were working remotely. And it was like, if I called in sick, nothing happened.
Sure.
It all fell apart, you know, so, you know, but flip side is like you don't have quite as much independence and you can't do whatever the hell you want. So, you know.
No, it's been, you know, I can't imagine doing anything remotely like what we do now alone, right? Because you know the origins of this are me. I want to start a YouTube channel and taking days off of work to edit stuff at home, and then every day I was in at 6 a.m. when the video would go live, I'd be in the comments. You know what I mean? Like to do that now, like it's so funny now of trying to get used to having a staff and having a crew and, you know, listen, this has been a week with Blessing, you know, him doing all of the, or last week I should say, him doing all of Kinda Funny Games daily, right? It was so weird to just listen to the show. Like, you not be a part of it, not be planning it. I'm getting ready for the next show. I'm back there answering emails. I'm back there playing a game, but I'm listening to them do Kinda Funny Games daily, and nobody in the comments is like, where the fuck's Greg? What's going on? Like, they get what this is and what the company is.
That means you've raised your audience well. I think it's a really good thing to have. Yeah. It's tricky. People are always like, hey, I really miss that thing you used to do, and it's like, well, why didn't you watch it when it was on? You know, why didn't you support it when it was still there?
My favorite last week there was a comment on the subreddit for Kinda Funny that was just like, what happened to Party Mode? Did I miss something? And literally my comment was, watch the last episode of Party Mode. The show you're asking where it is, the episode you didn't watch ends with us explaining not a lot of people are watching this to justify the investment of Andy's time. We need to move things around and restructure. That's in 2019. We've figured out gameplay since then on a different way, but it's like you're asking the question that shows the problem.
Yeah, it is. It's very difficult to get people to go to the thing that you're doing. But
for you, is that even not worse? Is that even more complicated? Because it is IGN, it is the comedy button. There are so many different things you're out there doing.
It's definitely difficult. I mean, the comedy button, which I should have probably mentioned as a comedy show I've been doing for 8.5 years.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah. I think we launched on Kickstarter. Did you guys do Kickstarter ever?
No, we never did. We were one of the first Patreon.
Right. So we jumped on Patreon around the same time you guys did.
If memory serves, I think we went on Friday and you went on Monday.
Yes. After you. But no, we did a Kickstarter. It was basically a not so subtle resurrection of the IGN podcast, the GameSpy debriefings.
Oh yeah.
Which had its own kind of weird legacy, and I think Bromley kind of came in and basically just like hijacked it and turned it to a dick and fart, dog and pony show.
And Ryan was like, okay.
Ryan was like, I don't know how to stop this crazy thing, and so we kept that going, and we still have it, and it's I don't know. We recorded new episodes last week. I'll do more this week. It's I don't know. It's bizarre. It's kind of like one of those things that it keeps the lights on. It's going, but it's also really hard to get new people into it. You know?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Totally.
I mean, I honestly compare it a lot to X-Men, where I love X-Men, but it's like people are like, where should I start reading X-Men?
Yep.
And I'm like, well, third grade is a good one, but also not number one. Not number 176. There's like no good answer there.
Totally. Well, I mean, and that's something I want to talk to you about from a content perspective because, we every year we reset what we're doing in a different way or figure something out or tweak something we didn't think was working. And this year we did for the Gamescast. We just started numbering them 1, 2, 3. It was starting all over again, right? With the idea that now the show is a different vision. There's a different cast. It's also 2020. Like we know how many people are trying to find video game stuff. We can't bury them in it's episode 267. What the fuck? So I can understand how intimidating that would be to jump in based in the comic world and the knowledge of it, because there is such a lineage to it. And I think that's something we struggle with too with the audience, because I see that comment all the time of, man, I love what you guys do, but you do too much. And so there'll be an inside joke you'll make on a show that I don't get a reference for. So I feel like I have to watch I'm like, you don't have to watch everything. Yeah. Do not watch everything.
No, I mean, we see this with blockbuster movies. Like they don't market Star Wars movies as like episode 9 anymore. Yeah, it's kind of very quietly been pulled away. Same with Marvel. Like we didn't get Thor 2. We got Thor: The Dark World.
Right.
Sorry about that. It's like it's
hey man, you know what? Don't worry about it.
Yeah. But I mean, it's like people are more likely to be like, I mean, Fast and Furious is. I don't even know how they number those things. They almost like kind of intentionally just confuse people.
They just shove the numbers in as letters. Yeah. It's weird.
It doesn't matter. None of it matters. It's all just like show up, sit down, enjoy the show.
So for Comedy Button going that long, do you guys have those conversations of like, do we?
Yeah,
need to,
we don't. I don't know. Like I don't know. I feel like we're not even really invested in trying to grow it at this point because it's kind of got its regular listeners, and there's a ton of it's also like a time capsule. I'm sure you have this too, where I'm sure there's stuff you've said in the past where you're like, that's not me, that's me 10 years ago.
Yeah, totally.
And it's this weird kind of like I don't know, exhibitionist paranoia. I feel like normal people are like, man, is Facebook listening to me? Am I going to be able to get a job someday because of the thing I said on Twitter? And it's like I don't know. Call me up when you've got like 1,000 hours of yourself talking off book, just
right,
saying whatever.
Dude, and that's what I was joking around about when people are like, oh man, the cameras are looking, they're key logging. I'm like, if you were dedicated enough and listened to all of our content, you'd be fine. You'd know my first street address and this, that, and the other. And like, there's just, at some point you got to be like, that's what it is. This is who I am. This is how it is. Whatever.
I mean, I think if anything, it'll confuse the algorithms, and everyone else is too lazy to look anything up anymore. So they're like, whatever,
sure,
it's
totally.
fine.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird. It's like, come and get me. Here I am. Here's all my. It's like, it's not worth it.
Yeah. I get that feeling though. I mean, for you talking about like not trying to grow it anymore, right? This is gonna sound like an insult. I hope it isn't, and I don't mean it that way. I guess that isn't if I say it this way at all. I'm so impressed you guys have kept it going the way you have. Because I remember when Scott got hired by Disney, I was like, oh, they got to stop now.
Yeah.
That's got to be the end of it, right? And you didn't. And then even when Anthony was like, I want to go, I was like, oh my God.
I mean, it's definitely kind of this. I'm not gonna call it a sunken cost fallacy, but it's got kind of like. It's kind of like seeing, it feels like stacking something, like a house of cards.
Come this high.
Where you're like, I mean, I honestly, like, I don't want to stop at 8.5 years. Like, I definitely want to keep going until 10.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to keep going forever. It's more like, will I find time for it?
Yeah. And when Brian had a kid, I was like, oh, this is the end of it. He can't show up as much as he does.
Yeah.
And somehow he travels more.
Yeah. No, it's ridiculous. And I mean, I don't know, I don't know what would... Like, it's one of those things that could conceivably go forever with the sort of, the little warning of like, hey, this is a living, breathing product. This is people growing up on the air. I feel bad being like, hey, go back and listen to episode number 1.
Oh, sure.
It's like, I don't know how you do one of those sort of soft reboots. You guys are good about kind of having this sort of, I mean, you're good at communicating with your audience about what you're doing and trying new things and being like, hey, that didn't work. We're going to try something different and move away from that. And, yeah.
I think it's part of being in it every day. You know what I mean? Not that you're not in it every day, but you know what I mean? Like for you guys to all get together and do the show, that's like the Comedy Button time.
Yeah.
Right? And then I feel like, and you tell me if I'm wrong, when you all go back to your day jobs and whatever, Ryan's making sure the podcast gets up and all this stuff's happening.
Yeah,
but
I mean, Ryan also moved far away. Like he lives in like Fresno now. So it's
really,
like
I didn't know that.
He commutes like 8 hours to get here.
Oh my god, I thought he was still down in where he used to live.
No, Sunnyvale. Yeah, no, he moved from there. So he's off the beaten path a fair amount. And then Brian and I are traveling constantly. Yeah. And Scott's doing Disney stuff. So it's sort of amazing we've managed to keep it consistent. And also like there's this wonderful thing which I know you're well aware of, where like normal shows have like seasons and they have like hiatuses, and there's this thing that's sort of beaten into, I feel like, video game podcasting, where it's like, yeah, it goes up every week. Why wouldn't it? You just put it up every week and it just keeps going and you never stop. And then there's this panic where it's like, it's the week before Christmas and New Year's, we don't have an episode to go live. And it's like, what if we didn't?
They'll forget about us. Yeah.
It'll break. The spell will be broken and bad luck.
Yeah. No, I know it all too well. And that last year was one of the big things that for us was a moment of relief when we figured out how to do seasonal stuff, where the morning show was no longer the morning show, it was the morning shows. And so similar to this show, right? When it's like, oh, we're doubling up on in review. We'll take, We Have Cool Friends will take a back seat. Internet Explorers will take a back seat. We can put something else in. We can launch Debatable. And when Jared quits after 2 episodes, we can run through till we get to the next show and then do it again. And
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But it was like such a nightmare for the longest time of, I want to do oration, which means I'm doing oration forever. Right? Like I'm not stopping.
Yeah. No, I mean, at a certain point, you want to take a break and be like, reflect upon it and figure out what to do differently. And it's, ending things is hard. It's tricky.
Totally. Yeah. Because like you said, I don't even think it happens all that often, right? Like I think there is that mantra of keep it going and keep it going and change and do all these different things, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's at this point, like the Comedy Button is like a really, really weird habit, It's just like a thing we do. And like, I don't know, I was in an Uber with Brian and heading there the other week, and I was like, we've almost been doing this for a decade. It's the same shit too. It's always like this sort of afterthought of like, oh, that's right, we're recording, we got to go do this thing. And it's like, maybe we pulled questions from from Facebook or from Discord or whatever. And it's like, but it's always like, and then there's always this kind of like, we're rolling in, it's like after work hours. It's still kind of slipped in the margins. It's not like getting up bright and early with a cup of coffee and being like, all right, let's make something. It's kind of like, oh, hey, what's up? I'm sorry I'm late. How's it going? How's everyone doing? It's really, I don't know. It's just an odd product to make. But
I think I talked about it on Brian's episode, but there was a tweet that went around recently, right? Of like, how did old friends keep in touch before podcasts? Because that seems what it is, right? Of like, the amount of times you and I have had the same conversation at an event of like, oh man, hey, what's up? Why would you do something? All right, see you later. And like, I gotta go interview. You gotta go. Yeah. And then we never make it happen.
Yeah.
We never go to dinner.
No, because it doesn't become a habit. It doesn't.
Exactly.
There's no obligation there, and it's really, it's surreal. I don't know. Also, like trying to make friends as an adult. Like you need to have like almost like an activity there.
Sure.
Which is, I don't know. There's something odd about like, oh well, we could go fishing and not talk, or we could just talk explicitly into microphones for an hour.
Make sure there's no dead air. Just speak the entire time.
Yeah, just fill it up with words. Get it in there.
People love content. Let's make content.
Yeah.
Do you guys think you'd ever bring on new people to the Comedy Button, or is that not the vision of it?
We've sort of talked about it, but it's almost like that would be one of those like hard sort of, well, not hard, soft reboot type of things where we'd have to kind of re-examine it, but I don't even know what it is exactly as a brand, because we've all grown up so much.
Sure.
I mean, Brian and I spun off and did Weird Heat, which was this sort of like art school depressed version of the Comedy Button, where it's like, well, let's save the goofs and chuckles for the Comedy Button, and then talk about our feelings over here, and then that we again sort of just let that trail off and didn't really it wasn't enough of a thing that was part of our regular schedule on top of Comedy Button to really just be like, oh, let's consistently do this.
Hold on. I thought somebody had a Weird Heat question here. I'll throw it to the friend zone for 2 seconds. Yeah. Austin Ernst said, did you always know that you would work in games, and where's Weird Heat at?
Weird Heat, good God. I never knew that I would work in games. I honestly cannot remember what I thought I was going to be when I grow up, but I think it was at one point like, I want to be a toy designer, and then it was like, you need to learn math, and I was like, I will never do that. Weird Heat, yeah, we just kind of like, I think I don't know. It was over a year ago. We just stopped, and there's almost this like anxiety of like,
has anybody noticed?
Yeah, people have definitely noticed. It's also like a very like quiet, intimate show that we were like. It also we set that up as like it'll be like a multimedia loot box / zine. Supported by listeners.
Because you were doing shirts and you were doing songs and you were doing the podcast.
Yeah, we did like, Brian did like a song about crying and I was supposed to make a shirt about it. And it's just like, what are we doing? You know, it's kind of like casting way too wide of a net. Yeah. And I think doing something much more, much simpler. Yeah. I mean, also the title Weird Heat says nothing about what it was. You know, I was sort of like, oh, it's a euphemism for creativity, or maybe we're like a couple of like, we're like bad feelings cops or something. It's like a buddy cop show about talking to yourself. It's like, what are we doing? Like, you know, and that was a fun experiment in itself. And I don't know, I love that we made it. It's one of those things we'd have to go in and tweak it and mess with it a bunch, and inevitably people would be like, this isn't like the thing it used to be. And it's like, well, maybe we should make just a new thing entirely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then 5 years now at IGN.
Yeah.
What did you come in wanting to accomplish, and do you think you've done it?
I kind of just got sort of thrown into the deep end without really. I knew that we were bringing back Up at Noon, which I feel like the most recent iteration of Up at Noon is my favorite. And then that we found out that was sort of not really working, so we've just been putting up little breakout videos. But getting people to watch any kind of a not long form and not short form type of show is really hard. And also, there's this issue with. I mean, the first version, the live version that we launched, that everyone was like, the Greg version was better. It's like, well, we wanted to call it something different, but there's this like, you know, brand equity value or whatever.
I mean, it comes down to so much too, and this is not a knock at all, but I mean, like when you're selling something, right? If you've done it before and it's got cachet and people understand what that is, obviously that's easier to sell to a sponsor than not.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's like anything that has that's why they reboot things. That's why they remake things.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that one, the live version was really fun. I love doing live stuff. I'm actually really annoyed we're not doing more of that because there's this level of chaos that goes with it, but it also is really hard to like get a point across or make anything that's like polished.
Yeah.
I would love it if we were doing something that was like weekly and fairly tightly scripted and kind of buttoned up, and then also like a really consistent, frenetic, chaotic live thing. Like doing, I mean, we used to do Destructoid show live to tape 3 times, or live to tape twice a week, and then live once a week, which was like this wonderful, like you kind of you build this weird muscle where you're like able to just like go from like reading off a prompter to doing improv stuff to just like kind of rolling with the punches when things get weird, and also just having an actual like live, knowing that something's live is like such a wonderful feeling.
Oh, gives that energy.
Yeah. So I don't know. We're definitely in a spot where we're trying to figure out what Up at Noon should be lately.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, it's just a bunch of kind of like weird little, you know, junk food features that Brian and I have been doing.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do miss doing the full hour-long live thing because it's this. Yeah.
Do something else. Pitch something else like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think my dream would be to do like a weird, like brain damaged adult version of Mr. Rogers, where it's just like, hey, welcome to my clubhouse. Come on in. Today we're going to be figuring out how to spray paint stuff indoors, you know, and it's like, you know, it'd be like, you know, try to be sort of wholesome, but with like a little bit of an edge to it.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Do you think there's space for that at IGN?
I don't know.
Because you came in and were not the tip of the sword by any imagination, because you've seen Brian evolve into it. But I remember when you got hired and when I was leaving and being like, and when Fran was like, oh, we got Max. And I was like, I love Max. Max is a great fit. I'm like, does Max do what you want him to do? Like, you know what I mean? Because I was still so, I've done 8 years of a very different IGN. And then to leave and see what IGN has evolved into in Brian's fast travel show, you and him going doing the crazy challenges, right, and driving dune buggies, and people are playing switches and airplanes and shit. And I'm like, very different.
So
different.
Much of that is also like things that just happen out of our control. Like,
sure.
I mean, it's all sponsorships make things happen, you know. And it's this, like, I would love to work more directly with that. I think it was also like, I mean, there's been such a ton of weird turnover at IGN since then that like now we've got some new people there who are like very friendly to like doing weird, crazy stuff and trying new things and seeing what happens with that and like having fun. Yeah. Like I think there's a sort of an older school editorial approach to things where it's like, this is about serious games journalism. And then if, you know, you get the chuckleheads who want to do like silly listicles and nonsense fun content, And they're like, no, that's too silly. You know? And it's like, dude, even the
site's pretty big.
Yeah, even grown-up newspapers have funny pages. You know, I'm just saying, they still got puzzles in there. Everyone loves puzzles.
Who doesn't love a good puzzle?
But I don't know. It's been a really weird thing to fall into because I've also like done a lot of entertainment stuff. I never saw myself working red carpets.
Yeah.
Doing crazy live celebrity interviews at like Comic-Con and stuff is sort of just like, oh God. But flip side of that, like talking to my in-laws who have like a very sort of distant understanding of exactly what it is I do, going from being like, yeah, he does like a YouTube channel about video games to like, oh, he interviewed Jackie Chan. Okay, he's cool. That's okay. Just getting that level of like, oh, this is a real job. This is legitimacy. So
yeah, it's funny that, right? Because I remember years ago now, but it was when I was at IGN and I was out with a bunch of high school friends, and one of them and their wife turned to me and was just like, hey, we were talking about this. Who do you think the biggest celebrity you've interviewed is? And I was like, oh man, do you know Tim Schafer? I'm like, well, he did that. And I started rattling out, and I was like, oh, well, I guess the cast of the Avengers, like I've done, like what the, I'm like, yeah, okay, I should have led with that. I should have led with the mainstream movie crap that I do at Comic-Con where they bring people in and out real quick, right? And it's like, okay, cool, see you, good to talk to you, Samuel L. Jackson, whatever.
Yeah.
Different life, not what it was expected to be.
Yeah, and then there's that weird like kind of come down of that where then you go back and you're like, well, now it's time to work for the website. You know, it's time to do like, you know, it's, I don't know, you come back in your, you know, in your homemade studio, and or you know, I go back and I'm like, time to just be in an office.
Yeah,
you know, and it's completely like this weird. It's nothing like the big glitzy glammy
stuff.
Yeah.
What is that? So what is your title? Are you host? Is that what
I'm host/producer.
Okay. And so what does a typical day in the office look like for you?
Typical day in the office is like a good busy day is I'm in and out of the studio shooting weird videos, whether there's stuff that I scripted or it's guests come through for an interview or something like that. And then it's a lot of answering emails, tracking stuff on Trello cards, answering Slack messages. I hate Trello. I hate Slack. I think they're bad software.
I miss Trello so much.
You just use Post-its on the wall. It's fine, Barrett.
That sounds terrible.
Barrett, there's 9 of us. There's 2 different rooms. Just tell me what you need.
I need us to be a very organized person, okay?
Slack, it's got it. You got the Google Calendar. We got it.
I don't know. I was the kid who like would have panic attacks over having to use like an assignment planner in middle school.
Yeah.
And then this is sort of like, hey, you're going to get an email every time somebody decides the card has been archived. And I'm like, I will very carefully try to deal with these things one at a time. So just trying to stay on top of that. And then I do a lot of like Photoshop for thumbnails and stuff, which is I do. You know, I'm writing stuff.
Yeah.
You know, if there's a really idiotic video description on IGN, I probably wrote it. And if there's like a abnormally detailed thumbnail for a photo, like Photoshop for a thumbnail, like that's also probably me.
Yeah.
Try to have fun with it. You know, I think it's, I don't know, just add that level of like art school creativity to it. Yeah, I mean, like the average day can range from like showing up, going to 3 meetings, answering 5 emails, writing half a script, and then going home. Or it can be get up at 4:30, get on an airplane, go to a field shoot where I have to get in the water with alligators or ride dune buggies or something, you know, like, and then of course like event season comes around and Brian and I got pegged to write all of the sort of intro outro copy for E3 and Comic-Con.
That's awesome.
Which was a wonderful learning experience, which means using a piece of, I don't even know if it's software. It's like a weird old website. It's like a beige Craigslist with lots of like fields on it called Rundown Creator, which apparently is Barrett's having like
Barrett's having flashbacks.
Like war flashbacks.
I can see the vein in your forehead.
I'll bring
Barrett.
Trello back, but you got to do this thing too.
Oh God, no! It was awful.
But yeah, it's one of those things that like in the same way of like sort of figuring out HTML, you're like, oh, I get it now. It's some weird man made up the rules for this a long time ago, and once you figure it out, you feel like, yes, I've learned this basic skill of like how to make the text not green on green or something. You know, it's like, but it's I don't know. It's taking nonsense copy and punching it into a prompter and then being like, okay, this is what I'm going to say when Zachary Levi is sitting right here. And then suddenly like I'm up there on a stage at Comic-Con and I like read the thing that I wrote and then I throw to the person who's next to me and it's like, it works.
It works.
You know? Yeah. So I don't know. There is no regular day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you love that? Does that fuel you?
Yeah. I love this sort of surprise element. I love field trips. I love days when we like get to go do some random shit. You know, I'll bitch about traveling too much, but it's also like it's so much fun to be like an adventure. Like, where am I going now?
Yeah.
What's happening? Where is this place? And like trade shows are like such wonderfully bizarre circuses. I mean, you've been to your fair share of conventions.
Once or twice,
yeah. And there's something like I went to my first Comic-Con in 2006, and my friend and I volunteered. We took a red-eye. There's such thing as a red-eye bus, which is like one of the most dystopian hell rides I've been on. But we took it takes like 11 hours to get from San Francisco to San Diego. So we did that overnight. Took Benadryl. Woke up in Coalinga. We're like, where are we? Did we die? Are we in hell? Got to Comic-Con for the volunteer thing. The deal used to be, I don't know if it's still the case, that basically they. If you volunteer for 3 hours, you get a badge for the rest of the day, and you're good to go. And so they put us on one of the stations, which was like, I think it was like media / like guest check-in. And so they've got this weird proprietary Comic-Con system. And they were like, oh yeah, these people were not paying. Here, sit here, print the badges. And so it was like people coming up being like, yeah, I forgot to register. I'm the guy who played the rabbit in Donnie Darko. Can I have a badge? And us being like, I guess. Here you go. And then
Rabbit, Donnie Darko.
Yeah. We're like, we did like 1 day, and I was like, wow, that was a lot of work. I guess we go see Comic-Con. Pretty cool. Good time. And then my friend's like, I printed some badges for us if you want to just say screw it and just go use them. And I was like, sweet. And so we just hacked Comic-Con and then like ran around doing that. But it was this whole thing of like, oh, like this is what a toy store is like when you're an adult, you know, it's like a gigantic version of that. And now it's weird to go to these things and for them to be like almost kind of strange and mundane, like to see enough of them that you're like, oh, okay,
That's the thing. I'm excited for Blessing working here for a lot of different things, but taking him to his first E3, right? Hopefully bringing him to his first Comic-Con and having him have those experiences is awesome. Because I've got, it's the little things like you're talking about that are mundane where, his first week, the first piece of fan art that involved him came in, and it was like, oh, and to watch him freak out about it, like, right. And not that I ever take it for granted.
Never get bored of it.
But it's not like the first time you saw someone doodle you, you're like, oh my God.
Yeah. No, I love like, I always wanted to take the sort of the, what do you call it, like IGN / influencer model of covering a show.
Yeah.
But then go to a show that like no one gives a shit about and be like, what's up guys, Max here. We're at the 2019 Gem Fair in Santa Rosa, California. Let's check out these geodes. And then doing like booth tours at like a bridal convention or something. I think that would be a fun show, is just to cover different conventions like
the same way,
but just being
here's the live show we're doing.
There's got to be something interesting there,
Oh, totally.
Something that people care about.
Cobble it all together, yeah.
The same food trucks though.
Of course, same food trucks. So same disgusting Starbucks food you're eating outside on not a real Starbucks. It's just the kiosk.
No, yeah.
It's good enough. It'll get me through the day. This is what I need.
It's just a coffee machine that someone painted green.
Exactly.
That's all it is.
It's so bad, so disturbing. What do you think is the biggest thing you've learned from your wife in your relationship?
Oh God. I don't know. We've pretty much grown up together. It's been 10 years. I think just having somebody who's there who like kind of actually believes in you and is like encouraging, but not. I don't know. I think she was like, at one point she's like, you should be kinder to yourself. And I'm like, oh, wow, I'm crying, like, but I don't know. I think also just that I can be a good partner. I grew up with a single mom and didn't have that sort of like, I didn't have a mom and dad thing to imitate,
Sure.
There was my mom never dated. She was always just this sort of like, strange lady who I lived with, and I loved her dearly, but also it was like, there's no, I was always like, I'm just going to be a failure as a husband. Like, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to be a good husband. And now I'm like, I think I might actually be like too nice, like I think I'm not enough of a layabout. I'm like, I don't know. I'll get up.
Did that just come from experience, you think? I mean, was that a conscious decision in your head of I want to be a good husband, I want to be a good partner?
No, my wife she'll get very mad at me if I do the bad things, Like she'll just get very cross, but I don't know. She's cool. I don't want to be like, take my wife, please. But but no, I don't know. You get to that point where there's like somebody that you like and you want to make them happy, and so you go out of your way to like do nice things for them.
Yeah.
And it's the simplest thing in the world. It's just it's like a more mawkish, saccharine version of the golden rule. It's like, treat people how you really want to be treated. Like, just really take good care of them and be like, pay attention and be supportive. And I don't know. It's just like, I think somebody who kind of reinforced that behavior was like, oh, that's That's a cool lesson.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I'll get up at 5:30 in the morning and make her coffee and then go wake her up and she's like, and I'm like, drink the coffee, and she's like, it's the coffee. I'm just gonna leave it. I'm gonna go play games. You have that.
Leave it as the altar sacrifice there for her.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
You guys gonna do kids?
We're talking about it.
Yeah.
It's definitely. It's one of those things where I think when you're younger, you're like, yeah, I'll have kids someday. It's totally a thing I want to do. I want to do that. And then you get a little bit like, you get to be like an actual grown up and you're like, dear God, that's the most terrifying thing I could ever possibly
Now it's
conceive.
imminent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, watching sort of Brian become a dad has been very much like, put it this way, that dude played Bloodborne before I did, and now I'm playing Bloodborne, and I'm like, I'm kind of getting the hang of this. The spider's hard. I have not beaten the spider, but I will beat this someday, and it's very much like, like kind of turning to him being like, how do you do this? And like, I don't know, he was like talking about potty training the other day, and it was like, I just realized I have no idea how you potty train someone. Yeah. Like that's just the thing I don't know. But it's a thing I now know that I don't know. So it's like a thing that I could figure out someday.
Sure.
But there's that, I don't know, it gets sort of close enough that you're like, oh, yeah, I could have kids. What the hell else am I going to do for the rest of my life? Like buy things and go places, I guess.
That's overrated.
Yeah. Get more dogs, maybe.
You can do both.
There's definitely like two sort of like equally hazy sort of thought balloons here. Like one is like, yeah, I'm going to raise children. And the other is like, what if I had like a wagon that was pulled by like 20 Pomeranian dogs? Like that's kind of cool too.
Yeah.
And I could have like a cool outfit that doesn't have puke on it.
Yeah.
But what are you going to do?
Yeah, but then, the dogs can't take care of you when you get old. That's what you got to do.
They can eat your eyelids.
It's true. They
after
could
you die or before. Who knows? Yeah.
No, that's true. Dogs eat
Cats
people.
and dogs love eyelids, Barrett.
Why?
Because it's the most delicious and tender meat. You would know that if you ever paid attention to me.
Okay.
It's like eating the pepperoni off a pizza.
Exactly.
What?
I don't know. Animals probably do that too. I don't know what to tell you, Barrett. You'll understand when you're
Read
older.
a book, Barrett. You know what I mean? Lord
God, turn
almighty.
30, dude.
Yeah, exactly. These are the things you start thinking about.
That's all you need to know. 401k, whatever that is. And the animals will eat your eyelids when you die.
The amount of times I've turned to Nick in this company and been like, should we be doing this? Is that what? Should I put more in? Less in? What am I doing?
I don't know. You get your Space Marines and your Tyranids and the Blood Angels, and then your
401k.
Yeah,
That's how it works,
Warhammer 401k. That's all you need to know.
Warhammer 401k. Everybody's favorite game. Max, it's time to find out about our sponsors. And then you're going to the friend zone.
Hell yeah.
But first, sponsors. This episode of We Have Cool Friends is brought to you by Robinhood. 2020 is the perfect time to start thinking about 2040. With Robinhood, you can invest in the markets and earn interest with a competitive APY on uninvested cash. They make it easy to get started and learn as you grow with an intuitive app experience and no commission fees on trades. And stock prices don't have to hold you back. You can buy a piece of a company you love for as low as $1 and build your portfolio a little at a time. Buy one share, buy half a share, buy three and a quarter shares. That's what they mean. I don't do the maths usually. It's up to you, your budget, and your goals. Your first stock is on the house when you set up an account. Go to morning.robinhood.com to learn more and claim your free stock. That's morning.robinhood.com. Annual percentage yield, APY, on uninvested cash is paid by program banks and is variable. Robinhood Financial is not a bank. The free stock offer is subject to terms and conditions. All investments involve risk. Other fees may apply. Visit rbnhd.co/fees. Our next sponsor, it's Raid Shadow Legends. Introducing Raid Shadow Legends. Raid is a mobile RPG done right. Not every RPG game must be cartoony and cutesy. Enough with candy, rainbows, unicorns, and bright colors. Get real, raw, dark, and epic, and awesome. Raid Shadow Legends will take you to the world of dark fantasy and realism. And now, you can play Raid both on mobile and your desktop. The game is cross-device, so you can play with the same user and switch between devices whenever you want to, however you want. The graphics in the PC version look great, and the game is super fast as well. Raid has all the features you'd expect from a brand new RPG title, like an amazing storyline, awesome 3D graphics, giant boss fights, PvP battles, and more. More than 15 million players worldwide have already downloaded the game, and the best part is it's free to play. So go and click the link in the description box and start playing right now. Clicking on this, you will not just enjoy one of the best mobile games of the moment, but you'll be supporting this broadcast. So what are you waiting for? Download Raid via the link patron.me. Kind of funny show Raid, which you will also find below in the description, and get a special package with 100,000 silver, 2 clan boss keys, 10 mystery shards, and the Amazing Champion Adjudicator. This package will be available for the next 30 days. And our final sponsor is Honey. Online shopping is supposed to be easy, so why is it so hard to find coupon codes that actually work? Thanks to Honey, it doesn't have to be. Honey is the free online shopping tool that saves you money online. Honey automatically finds the best promo codes and applies them to your cart, which makes online shopping feel as easy as it's supposed to. Imagine you're shopping at one of your favorite sites like GameStop, Target, whatever. Then you hit checkout, this little box drops down, and all you have to do is say apply coupons. Wait a few seconds, it scans every promo code on the internet, and watch prices drop. Ladies and gentlemen, Honey sponsored us, I think last year, maybe even longer than that, started using it. I use it all the time, legitimately, all the time. They're not paying me to say it. Well, I guess they're paying to do the ad on the show right now. Not paying Greg Miller to say that. Use Honey. Sometimes it doesn't find a code. No big deal. Lots of times it finds codes. Helps me out a lot. I notice I sit next to Joey now. Joey uses it too. Should I be looking at Joey's computer that much? Probably not. Let's just leave it at that. All right. Okay. Honey has found over 18 million members, $2 billion in savings, and now it's time to get your Honey on. Not using Honey is literally passing up free money. It's free to use and installs in just 2 clicks. Get Honey for free at joinhoney.com/morning. That's joinhoney.com/morning. Friend Zone. We're going to start, of course, you can be part of the Friend Zone. Patreon.com/kindafunny. You can go there and give us your Friend Zone questions in the best Friend Zone. Mike Aronson writes in and says, first and foremost, I just want to say thank you to Max for inadvertently saving my life. I really got introduced to him on the old Casual Fridays show at Rev 3 Games with Sessler, Tara, and that bastard Carboni. Again, if you didn't know, we all hate Anthony Carboni. And he has been my Obi-Wan ghost, directing me to Dagobah. Right? I said that right?
Yeah.
I'm new to the Star Wars fandom. System.
It's actually Dangabang.
I'm sorry, my apologies. The Dangle Bang system of this extended ridiculous IGN/comedy button/kinda funny family. Knowing that I have a new comedy button coming my way every Friday has oftentimes been the singular item to get me through the week to Friday. And as low as things may get, chances are I'm probably going to find myself laughing uncontrollably. Other times, within mere seconds of hitting play. Max's openness and rawness about his lifelong battle with mental illness and being a very solo child have struck home with me and very hard. And I know that's true for so many. So thanks for being you.
That's the sweetest thing I ever heard. That is, I would say, big, huge, gold-plated #1 reason that I still love doing the comedy button is getting emails like that where people are like, hey, started listening to this when I was in 8th grade, and I'm like, yeah,
you should not. I was there too. You should not have been listening to us.
But they're like, hey, but I just graduated college and everything's great, and it's just like, what? We didn't lead you into like a gasoline fight. Like what? This is great. This is good news. But also hearing that, I think it's very easy to sort of be too close to something and discount its value. But the idea that a thing that I make is like a, weekly, very gross advent calendar door to open. The idea that there's like some stupid special surprise waiting on Friday for people is like, I think that it's that, whatever it is, that stupid silver lining bullshit that gets you through your week, your day, your month, whatever it is. That's wonderful to hear. So, yeah. And I mean,
when you started all of this, was that a door you knew you'd be opening, talking about your own backstory and all this stuff?
So there's this weird, I've battled with depression and anxiety and, just a garden variety, like a shitty loot crate of emotional problems. It's nothing crazy.
For depression crate, everybody.
Yeah, I don't have any like cool, I'm not like that dude on Legion. There's no cool powers or anything. It's nothing weird or exciting or gross.
I just get bummed out.
Yeah, it's just like sometimes my brain is like, hey, what if I made you feel worse? And I'm like, great, thanks, chemicals. But no, I remember when I sort of initially, I think I brought it up in passing for something, and there's always this feeling of like, oh, you just sound like you're trying to get attention. And some people are like, I don't want to hear it, he's just trying to get attention. But other people are like, oh, I actually deal with that, and that resonates with me terrifically. And it's like kind of like, that's definitely a thing I've seen become more, it's become more acceptable to talk about in the 100%. Last decade. People have been very open about it, and I think just, it's actually better for the skeletons if they come out of the closet and walk around on their big bony legs. But no, I don't know. I think just being like, hey, there's that thing, and social media does this especially badly to people, where it's like you're always seeing the sizzle reel, you're always seeing the trailer for people's lives and the best parts of it. So being like, hey, here's me interviewing Jason Momoa. By the way, I lie in bed awake at night just kicking myself for all of the dumb things I didn't do right in that interview. Just being like, you can still go and do crazy ambitious things and have crushing anxiety. And, you know, if that helps people, cool, you know? And it's,
for sure.
Yeah.
I think you're like you said. I think definitely in the last decade that's becoming more and more prevalent, right? Of people not being afraid to show weakness and talk about what's going on, right? And I think it's always when I try to describe what we do, right, in terms of, well, you know, so you're still a journalist? No, I'm an influencer, a host. I don't know what you want to call. And like, well, what is that? And I'm like, well, so like Entertainment Tonight. I'm like, kind of, I guess, but not really. I'm not sure how much. Everybody, if you watch Entertainment Tonight or Extra, I'm not sure if you know what's going on in Mario Lopez's life the way you. Mario Lopez isn't talking about.
That would be a very different Extra. It's like, we got a breakdancing crew here, but first I'm going through a divorce and it's kind of rough. You'd be like, holy shit.
His own Chiron pops up of like.
No, I think there's definitely a little bit of Mr. Rogers in there. Where it's like you have this like that level of like consistency where people start to sort of know you as a person, and it's like the little, you know, I'm probably Howard Stern. I never listen to Howard. I watch more Mr. Rogers than I listen to Howard Stern. But there's that you kind of learn, you know, you learn that person as a barometer, and I don't know. Depression is like the dumbest thing. It's the absolute stupidest thing, and I think I've had like, you know, when you think you're fighting off a cold and you just have that like, you're like, I got the little itchy tickle thing.
Yeah.
I feel like I've had that for the last 6 weeks with depression, where I'm like,
it's coming on.
I'm like, am I depressed? And I'm like, you know, like painting a miniature tank at 5:30 in the morning, and I'm like in front of like a Swedish anti-depression light, and I'm like, maybe, but it's okay right now, you know, like it's I don't know. There's no. And also, people are like, "How did you beat it?" And it's like, I didn't fucking beat it.
It's ongoing.
You just keep going. You just keep doing your shit and hope it gets better. You know?
Yeah. That's the biggest part about it. I think is like understanding the swings. You know, mood swings make it sound so dramatic and not clinical for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean the idea that like it does alternate day to day. Like the amount of times I'm at home and I don't suffer with clinical depression, but the amount of times I'm home and I'm like, I'm grumpy and shitty right now, so I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna tell Jen that I'm grumpy and shitty right now, and either go to bed or try to sort it out or talk through what's going on, but acknowledging that something's wrong and it's not who I want to be.
You have to do something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just don't stew in it. Right.
Occasionally, you can just do the thing where you just sleep and just, you know, do that, but that is, you know, that won't get you anywhere. You know.
Yeah. Just like life.
Yeah. Right.
Can't sleep through it.
Yeah. Unless you could be famous for sleeping like that Rip Van Winkle fella.
I guess he's like the one person who's pulled it off, though. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who else is famous for sleeping, Barrett?
Terry Schiavo.
Yeah, I got nothing for
you.
I got nothing.
Wow.
Only 90s kids
I was
going to
say, wow, that is a fucking cut. Barrett has no idea how offensive that was. Let's move on. Anthony Ragucci writes into patreon.com/kindafunny and says, hey, Max, super big fan of yours since the Rev 3 days. I especially loved your series, Study Hall. What did you learn from Rev 3 that took you into the rest of your career?
I want to God. I think that the term producer is incredibly nebulous, and that you can be producing something without realizing it. I got kind of Study Hall was my first show that was my baby, and I got kind of turned loose on that, and I would be like, yes, I'm gonna write the thing, and I'm gonna pull all the assets for it, and then I'm gonna sit next to the editor and be like, do this and this and this, and then the video goes up. And they were like, you produced that video. And I was like, I did? Wowzers, you know? But it's, which can also mean an entirely different thing if you're, you know, Jerry Bruckheimer or something.
Sure.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah, but I think also just the fact that there's, you can just make stuff, you know? Like I think there's a feeling of like things have to be super professional. Things have to be a certain grade to exist and have to function that way. And Revision 3 was weird because it was a lot of XTV people, but also a lot of like internet people. Yeah. Anthony Carboni was definitely a huge sort of influence on me, and he's one of those guys who is very good at looking. He's very good at, you know, putting his best foot forward. You know, showing off that he's doing well, keeping busy, doing stuff. But he's also just, I don't know. He tried stuff. He made things, you know, and occasionally things didn't work out, or, you know, he's made shows that didn't pan out, or, of course, you know, and I think that sort of being close enough to somebody who's doing those things and being like, oh, okay, like you're kind of making it up as you go along too. And there are definitely right ways to do things and wrong ways to do things, but a lot of it is kind of figuring it out and problem solving and troubleshooting. So I guess just kind of that. You know?
Similar vein, that Mario Rivera writes in and says, watching you from Rev3 Digivolve all the way to being a face of IGN. It's been great to see you grow as a person and be inspired by your work and creativity. Who was like that when you were growing up? Who inspired you? Who did you look up to?
Sean Baby for sure. I love the way just the mixture of like, here's a way to deliver information in a very funny way. Like here's a way to sort of sugarcoat everything so that it's digestible and it's you laugh at it, but then you're like, oh, I actually remembered something, because it's like kind of like the, putting things into song. You remember more. I don't remember it anywhere near as well as things that I heard in song, but it's still like, oh, that was an enjoyable way to consume information. I think, growing up, God, I always loved LeVar Burton.
Yeah? Hell yeah.
I just he's just got this wonderful kind of like, just, he's so like excited about everything he's doing, you know? In addition to doing like sort of the adult Mr. Rogers, I've always loved the model of being like, hey, we're all very familiar with this concept. Let's see how it actually works in real life. And then going to talk to like somebody who's, who knows about the thing,
Yeah. No, LeVar's awesome. And I think, to bring him up, to bring Carboni up, to bring what we're trying to do all the time, hosting stuff, right? Like there is that affable energy that you're there and you're excited to be there, and this is the coolest thing ever, right? And it's not fake from, I don't know LeVar Burton that well. I've met him like once, but like it's not fake from you, and it's not fake from me, and it's not fake from Carboni, right? Like we're legitimately excited to be on camera talking about something and talking to somebody who's passionate about whatever, and I can be talking to them about their video game, their comic book, their pottery. I don't care if they're...
sometimes you have to like, you sugarcoat it a little bit, but at the same time, like it's not... You're not just phoning it in, Like there's something you find the thing that it's exciting about it, and you try to share it with people. I think that level of like LeVar especially was like always like showing you something and being like pointing out why it's cool and being like, look at this, like check this out.
Yeah,
these are beekeepers.
Wow,
look at all these goddamn bees.
I remember that episode of Reading Rainbow. Look at these guys. Have you met him?
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay, that's next on the bucket list.
No, definitely. That's one of those ones I'm very excited about.
All right.
Yeah.
Mitch Craston writes in. Patreon.com/kindafunny. What is the process like coming up for segments for Up at Noon? Is it a full brainstorming session or more as inspiration strikes for a segment? You guys had me rolling, laughing recently with the AI news stories.
That was they come from all different sort of angles. Occasionally it's like, here's a thing that is popular. We should do something around that, and then trying to find an angle which is like relevant to us. Other times it's like we get a sample of something, or like we get sent action figures, like these fine DC collectibles.
Oh, did you bring me the Superman?
I brought you a Superman.
Oh, well, thank you so much.
Yeah, McFarlane Toys sent us a bunch of toys to unbox, and I had a spare Superman. Here's
of course, because he was so popular, everybody else wanted him. I'm sure.
Yeah,
Superman.
That's actually really, that's a good toy.
It looks great. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. We talk about toys, and occasionally we'll be like, I don't know. We'll be like, we got a bunch of Mario Maker like action figures that just come with like little blocks and crap, and we're like, what do we do with this? And so we started doing this very weird video where, and it kind of came together as we were shooting it, where initially it was like a straight unboxing, and I was just like screwing around, and Brian was like, here's Mario, and he can jump on the blocks, and here's Koopa, and I was like, yeah, but what if Dovahkiin was there with a minigun? And I'm just like pulling, and I'm like, oh, here's Kazuma Kiryu from Yakuza. Also, it should be available on Switch. They should put that game on Switch. And it's just like, it devolved into this weird like adult men playing with toys, which is so much more interesting than a straightforward unboxing.
Sure. Here's what the toy looks like.
Yeah.
Rotated. Like,
exactly. Have fun with it. And some
Yeah.
people hate that so much, but we try to have fun with it. Other times we'll just be like, let's make like a list of something that we want to we want to talk about. It'll be like a conversation we have just turned into something weird. A recent one we did, which is going up sometime soon, was the realization that there's a day-night cycle in Mario Brothers. Therefore, time passes in that game. How long does that game take place in universe?
Mario's Nightmare.
Yeah.
How long has this 6-month quest been going?
Yeah, I don't know. Is it several days, or is it like a week? It's kind of weird, and we did a whole thing about that, and it just evolved into something very strange and silly. But yeah.
And so for what you were talking about earlier, right, of doing them as bits, sales is involved and stuff, is it nowadays that you come up with this idea and then pitch it to them, or you just go make it?
Sales usually comes to us with sponsored stuff. We kind of are doing our own thing on the side anyway.
Gotcha.
And they'll hit us up and they'll be like, hey, like what, how do you feel about this thing? Or do you have any ideas associated with this? And we're like, here's what we would do with that. And occasionally they're like, that's a great idea. And other times they're like, we're not even repeating that to the client. That's a terrible idea. One of my favorite videos I did last year got, of course, no views. It did horribly.
Isn't that always the way?
Yeah.
I'm super proud of this piece of content.
Right?
Nobody
It's like
gives a
I
flying
worked
fuck.
really, really hard on this, and people are like, it was okay, and 3,000 people watch it. We got sponsored by Apex Legends, and I pitched. It was for like a Halloween episode, and so I was like, I'll make us Halloween costumes for real cheap. And so like I spent an entire, I think like a day and a half just cutting stuff together and spray painting and making these like wonderfully like they were totally like homemade kid costumes for adults. And I was like, I made Brian look like Caustic, and then I did like a Pathfinder costume for myself that was all like cardboard. But it was like, and I know enough about like making, model kits and crafting and stuff to like make it look kind of good. But I was also like, I gotta get this done by Saturday afternoon, so I'm hustling.
Let's go.
And it's like, I'm so happy with how they came out, and they're like super goofy and weird, and there's like time lapse stuff, and it all just like cobbled together really fast. And of course, it got like 11,000 views, and I think the client liked it maybe, or else I don't know, I have no idea. But that was one of those things. I was like, I could do this, and they're like, yeah, all right, just don't make Apex look bad. And I was like, no, it'll be fun, it'll be exciting. Yeah.
That's always the way. I hate that. For me, it's always here's something I'm super proud of, and I want to get out to the people as fast as possible, and that's when everything breaks for the day.
Yeah,
when it doesn't happen and this isn't going and it's going to go up at 6 o'clock. I'm like, no one's watching at 9 o'clock Eastern
What's your
time.
favorite thing you've done that not enough people have seen?
Oh my God. I would say for kind of funny, it would probably be the video we did at Mizzou. Like when Microsoft came to us and they were like, hey, we're doing this whole thing about like Microsoft service being great for college. We would love to send you to do a tour of Mizzou. It's literally how the school made you. And then at the end, we gave away computers. At no point was it like, oh man, I really loved working on my stuff. I had a fucking Mac when I went to school there. Like it wasn't that at all. They were literally like the least, they were just like, you go, show your school and then give away computers. Like, great. And I did that, and it did fine, but it wasn't like
it didn't.
For me, it was like, I am Mizzou, so like
that's
to
awesome.
go there and give a journalism class computers, like and it was like some people watched it, but it didn't blow up. It's always one of those ones you want to blow up. Yeah. And then at IGN, there's one that was the producer, like you were talking about that moment. Where a little man named Caleb, very small, very small. Yeah. He had and I had pitched in this video of the difference between actually having a fight of which was better, Madden or NCAA football when they both existed. And he's like, all right, cool, write the script. And I wrote the script. And I gave it to him. He's like, cool, find all the footage. And I gave him all the footage. And then he's like, where would you have the camera? And I scripted like even camera cuts to this video. We went to Pete's Tavern when it was still open and filmed there. And I had costume changes in the middle of it. And I designed and it was like awesome, and I put it up, and it's Madden versus NCAA. That is such a small group that cares about that like it never went anywhere. Man. It's like fuck, that was so good.
You got to make it
exactly, and it was the pride, right? And it was not only the pride, it was the knowledge, it was the experience that we're talking about, right? Of like, okay, I know how to do that now. Now, in this vein, you mentioned that, but Timothy Carpenter writes in and says, Max, I loved how you came to Beyond and made it your own. I was a big fan of Beyond before, and I was so glad you came in and didn't try to just ape what Colin and Greg built. What content are you most proud of? Now, you mentioned the Apex thing. I didn't know if that's the answer or if there's other stuff.
No, that was
like the sales
most
thing.
recent one.
Yeah,
I mean, Study Hall is definitely up there.
Explain that to people.
Study Hall was a show where I would take a thing that was sort of a singular topic. So I think like, it was usually a video game. It was starting with a video game first and then being like, okay, so you're excited about this, you care about this, there's something in this subject matter that interests you. Here are recommendations for every other kind of media, also other games that are related to this.
What
thing.
a great idea.
Yeah.
I always loved that idea.
And I always had fun with it because it was like the aesthetic was very like, it was all written on notebook paper. Like I made a custom font out of my own handwriting. So it was like literally handwritten notes and go check this thing out. And I would like pretend I was a teacher and sit at this weird little desk. And then I like, green screen myself in different locations. It was basically one of those things where I think so often, there's this like people make videos and it's like, I don't know, people just shoot a video in front of like their shelf of toys, which I'm also guilty of, but it's a really big shelf of toys. But I mean, it'll just be like, I don't know, you're making a little movie, like have fun with it, like get weird, like design the hell out of it. So like really every level of Study Hall was like kind of like bespoke stuff. And then it was also like being like, hey, here's contextualizing things that people might enjoy. And a bunch of people like will tweet at me here and there being like, hey, that got me into Talking Heads. They're my favorite band now. And I was like, why was I talking about somehow I drew a comparison between like BioShock and Talking Heads. Like I don't even like it was very much like kind of like personalized, tangential references, but explaining why stuff was related or what it had to do with anything else. So yeah, people have asked me to bring that back, and again, it's hard to just make a show happen out of nowhere. I've made a handful of little features here and there on IGN. So if anytime you see 7 movies to go check out before Death Stranding, and people in the comments are always like, I don't want to watch movies before I play Death Stranding. I'm like, well, I tried.
Why'd you click on the fucking video?
Yeah. But no, I did. I've done a bunch of those. But it's like Study Hall is one of those things. I'm incredibly proud of it and would love to redo that again someday. But not happening anytime soon.
Sure.
Yeah,
that's a great one. You should do that again. But I understand. I understand the struggles.
It's a struggle.
Nikesh Patel wrote in to patreon.com/kindafunny, just like you can, and says, my question is, do you find the balance between being silly and serious in your everyday life difficult to maintain? A lot of your success seems to be based on your openness to the weirdness in the world, which is probably difficult to do if you're not open to interpreting things in several ways. Do you find yourself having unserious thoughts or saying funny things when you shouldn't, or vice versa?
Oh boy.
I'd point back to the Terry Schiavo comment.
She was asleep for a while. That was the big deal, right?
I think we were kids. I don't remember it super well.
No, that was all due respect to the Terry Schiavo state. No, I think I don't know, pointing at the absurdity in things. There's a line in the book One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest where there's somebody who's like rocking back and forth in a chair laughing, and there's a line about how there's striking a balance and everything's just going to shit around him. This is complete chaos. And there's, I think it's you can't let the humor blot out the pain any more than you could let the pain blot out the humor. And it's one of those things where you can't just be like, ha ha, everything's funny, ha ha ha, because then it's that's horrible. You're not existing in the same universe. You're kind of in your own little, your own thing. And if you're just miserable all the time, you're gonna hate it. It sucks. So to try to find that little stupid lining, that little polka dot lining is it's tricky. And even if on my most miserable days, I'll still just sort of be notice something goofy. I don't know. I think what I find funny is frequently it's stuff that's incredibly mundane or little kind of, nuanced details that are they border on pretentious, where it's like a funny sign or something. I actually had a weird thing where I was in Germany for Gamescom, and just every sign, every word in German is just the silliest shit in the world to me because I don't speak German, and I would just be like, I can't read that word. I don't know what that says. Or I can read enough of it that I'm like, huh. I sort of know what that means, and it definitely is a strange way of describing it. I was like the word for hippopotamus is it's swamp horse or something.
Sounds about right.
Which is just it looks silly on its own, and then you kind of pick it apart, and you're like, that's actually even sillier when you contextualize it. The bat, the flying dog is here. And I'm like, they're not wrong. But I mean, I don't know. It's finding that's kind of a long tail from that. But then we went to I went to France afterwards, and I was just looking at French signs, and I was like, ha ha, it's not funny. It's not funny.
It's not
at all.
the same as they don't have the same
French
sense of humor.
Funny, it's not at all. It's just I'm not liking that one bit. I don't know. I love just I don't know. I try to find shit that makes me laugh on a daily basis, but without letting it make me not take things seriously. You know, everything's
there's gotta be a balance. You can't have the sweet without the sour.
Everything is constantly horrible, but everything's also pretty ridiculous. So yeah.
Elliot Gray writes in. Says, how tough was it taking over for Greg on Up at Noon? I know it was spoken about in Brian's episode, but would love to hear Max's perspective.
Oh, God. If Brian wasn't there with that level of, first of all, his sort of, tough guy Jersey attitude, but also the fact that he works so closely with you, if there wasn't that, connective tissue, I would have felt like such a scab, and I would have probably just crumbled under the weight of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was tough. It was definitely really difficult.
I think, and first and foremost, is I know you didn't deserve that.
Yeah,
and that I love you, and I think I wish there would have been a way to do it together. I wish there would have been a way to hand it off.
I think people want to, in the same way that we try to humanize ourselves as much as possible and really just have an actual relationship with the audience. There's also that level of this is still a person on TV, and there's something very fictional about that.
Well, there's these really it's bizarre to me that there are still these two competing sides and thoughts that are inside of people, where it is that you know us so well, you've listened to everything we've done, you understand that we're human beings that suffer with all these different thoughts and feelings or whatever, and then there is still that thought of, if I make this comment, they'll never see it. I can say whatever I want and it won't affect them. When in reality, every waking moment when I'm brushing my teeth or doing whatever, waiting for the bus, I'm on Reddit. I'm in the YouTube comments. I see everything.
Yeah,
right?
I've sort of tried to like ostrich a little bit and just not read as many comments because it does kind of ruin it. Like, the thing, like I remember when I worked like a real normal job, like I would work at a coffee shop or at a retail or whatever, and like having a mean customer would like fuck up your week. Yeah. Like, and to have that level, like the same level of somewhere between like somebody being mean and somebody and being in trouble, like for someone to call you out and be like, oh crap, and it's very easy to like kick a hornet's nest or say the wrong thing or say like one tiny little thing wrong that makes a bunch of people come after you. And I don't know, it sucks. It's a bummer. Totally. But I mean, you see it even when there's nothing wrong being done.
Of course.
Some people just be like, this guy has a punchable face. Or like, the one I love is when there's like, you do a show, you do like shows with your friends. Like there's pictures of people we know all over these walls and you've worked with them. But there's inevitably like this thing where people want to like treat it like the MCU where they're like, I bet that guy could kick that guy's ass. It's like, they'll do shit where it's like on Beyond, it'll be like, Brian's okay, but the rest of these guys suck ass. And it's like, Brian isn't gonna take your side. Like he's not.
Pops up, be like, yeah, no,
yeah. I don't know. I saw somebody like I think one of the most recent episodes of Beyond. Like I was hosting while Jonathan was on a trip, and somebody was like, "Thank God Max is back. I like him better than Dornbush." And I'm like, one, give me a break. Like where were you? Yeah. Come on. But also like, I don't want to hear that,
Yeah, no. Like that's the worst way to give somebody feedback.
I will automatically like living, breathing human being that I see on a daily basis more than random commenter saying mean thing about that person. It's like this. It's just. I saw a weird article about sort of how the internet's changed, and there was a line in there that I really, really loved, which was the big shift was phones. And you think about this, like we grew up on the internet where it was a thing, like you'd go to the school library and you'd log on, it would make a horrible noise and you'd type stuff. And there was a certain, there was a learning curve to like figure it out. And there was also like a weird etiquette that came with it.
There's a barrier to entry.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
And then suddenly it switched to like phones, which by definition are a communication device. And it's a thing you can like, I don't know. I've used phones to call up strangers and be like, hey, fart, like hang up, Hi, is this hooked on phonics? Yeah, what the fuck is a phonic? Nobody knows what that is. Click, Like,
got him.
Yeah, I really showed you hooked on phonics. That was the only 1-800 number I could remember. 1-800-ABCDEFG. Anyway, but like that, there's that level of like people getting cell phones and suddenly it's just like, it's so easy to just talk shit, to just be like, there it is, and it's, I don't know, there's no etiquette there. There's no like, and I feel like the oldest man in the world to be like, there's no manners on the internet. Like back in my day, it was a gentrified, wonderful thing. Everyone you'd put Don. It was like people used to wear suits to fly on the airplane. It's like, I don't know. Anyway, sorry.
No, that's what it's about. You're here to talk. Don't worry about that. You're doing fine.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, taking over for you was really difficult, and there was it wrecked me. It fucked me up. Beyond was always like, just incredibly bittersweet because like we'd have the most fun on an episode and then like I don't know, I'd read the comments and they'd just be full of vitriol and stuff and there's the weird various politics between you guys were off doing your thing and people were like, yeah, these guys are they're scabs for taking over, for keeping the show going, and like none of us were like, let's keep Beyond going. But again, it's that thing where they wanted to keep the Beyond brand. And I mean, it was especially tricky because it was taking over Up at Noon and Beyond for you,
right,
which was like two things where it's like these are your things, these are your shows, and I just felt like just sort of like a stepdad,
Yeah.
Like,
hey,
like,
slugger,
yeah.
You want to hang out?
Hi, it's me, Jeff. I'm here to just I'm gonna be making love to your mother. Like it's just really like sorry, I didn't want to do that.
Should I have done more? Could I have done more?
I mean, we had a whole like, we did an episode at a bar together. Like we all got together, we got the gang together. But I totally get it. Like you were, I would have loved to have gone on Kind of Funny when you guys were first launching. Like that would have been such a good little sort of, way of kind of bridging that. But at the same time, like I fully understand that you guys were trying to like make Kind of Funny its own thing.
Yeah.
And it's so weird because it is this like weird like sort of nebulous interactive universe of everyone guests on everyone else's shows. Everyone's interacting with each other. But it's like you do want to kind of like define what a thing is, and like, I mean, Kind of Funny is a lot of ex-IGN people, but it's not IGN. You guys want to do your own thing, and like, I don't know.
It's always so hard because it's just like when we're setting up something that happened 10 years ago, right? And what it was like to make content and try to make the current TV show happen. Like, even to go back 5 years ago with what we were trying to do, we were in such a different place where I talked about, I think on the Brian episode, but like, one of the few times Fran's ever had wisdom was when we were getting ready to leave. And he's like, I hope we can have you back in, the next few months for something. I was like, no, dude, you got come on over. I want to come back as soon as I can. He's like, it's going to take time. Yeah. And I didn't understand what that meant until we were out on the other side, and you'd hear through the grapevine that somebody said something in a morning meeting about us, and I'd be like, that fucking guy said that about us.
There was like some weird like territorial like bad blood stuff there. And I was just kind of weird because I was just in the middle of it.
You're like Brandon, you're like excited to be here, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, I mean, yeah, it's weird that part of 5 years ago feels a lot longer ago than a lot of other parts of 5 years ago.
Dude, I mean, that's the thing, you mentioned your anniversary. It's our anniversary. Like, January 5th is like entrenched in my mind, but like similar to what you're talking about last year of like for 5 years of Kind of Funny, it feels like in the same breath, 10 years and also 5 minutes. Like, it's just gone. Like, so many things feel like night and day. Mm-hmm. So many things feel like they were just yesterday. Like, it's insane to think about where we are and how we've come, where we've gone and what's changed and how relationships are that, people can come on and do whatever and stuff.
Also, like, the bizarre part of, like, growing up and, like, the passage of time being perceived differently. Or when you're a kid and it's like, it took them 3 years to make this movie, and you're like, wow, 3 years. And then you're like, you get older and you're like, that's... All right, totally. Fast track it, get it together.
I remember like
flies by.
My mom being gone for 2 episodes of Batman the Animated Series, right? An hour. And like I remember like, it's only been 15 minutes of episode 1. Like, how is this happening? You know what I mean? Of like how long that time felt. And now it's just gone in a heartbeat.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Aaron writes in to patreon.com/kindoffunny. Just like you can, it says, you and Brian seem to have a fantastic friendship both at work and outside of work. Just wondering what it's like to work with one of your best friends.
It is, it's so great. It is like, it's legitimately the most like cartoon, like Frog and Toad Berenstain Bears bullshit. Like it feels kind of like we're Bert and Ernie. Like, sorry to keep plugging PBS stuff. They paid me to say all this. To give me a tote bag.
Next season of Up at Noon, sponsored by.
No, like it's one of those things where we're like, we are able to maintain the sort of the feeling of like, yes, this is a job and we are adults. We are grown-ups who do our things. We go grocery shopping. We do laundry. We're married. He has a kid. It's like there's these things where like we're on textbook. We are growing up, but then we also go to work and we're best friends. And it's like the stupidest, most like we have a giant desk covered in toys, which just feels like a little bit like when they nail their bunk beds together in Step Brothers. So I mean, it's great. He officiated my wedding. I'm his daughter's godfather. I was at her christening. It's like our significant others like will text each other about like making birthday plans and stuff like that. It's that kind of level of like,
it's like I Love Lucy.
Extremely,
like Desi and
no, I always say that I'm
Lucy and Ethel.
I'm kind of the Barney Rubble to his Fred Flintstone, where I'm like, oh hey Fred, what's going on? And he's like, Bonnie, not now. like he's absolutely the great. Like I'll show up in the morning, I'm like, like, hey, what's going on? Good morning. That's like my imitation of myself.
Sure, it's good. It's nailing. It's exactly how you sound.
I played my Dragon Ball Z video game all weekend. He's like, got a bunch of more fucking emails, I don't know whose voice that was. That was like Rocksteady or something.
That sounds like him, though. That sounds like him.
But we have this wonderful, like, sort of this. I think he framed it once as like, it's like when an 8th grader and a 5th grader are best friends, and like the 8th grader's like, check it out. This is how the world works. But it's also like he has no idea what he's talking about either.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's the best thing in the world. I couldn't,
That's adorable.
It's very wonderful.
Ben Voigt says, what's the dumbest way you've ever been injured?
Okay, I got this one.
Got it.
I got a couple of runners up. Can I do those first? Okay,
Please,
so I've definitely,
You're the cool friend.
I was learning how to weld in metal shop in 10th grade.
Yep.
And they got the big crusty gloves that you got to, and I was holding the welding rod with one hand. I got the school issued goggles in the other hand. I'm trying to weld and I can't see anything. I'm just like, where? And I look down, I'm like, where's the welding rod? And I look down and the welding rod has landed on my pants and my pants have caught fire. And again, the humor of the situation was not lost on me. And I go, I'm on fire. And it was, a bunch of high school boys. So they're all like, holy shit, someone's on fire. We got to see this. And everyone comes running in. And the teacher is basically like, oh no, here goes my job. And he just throws dirty water on me. And then I had to borrow a pair of his pants. But I was a very hefty boy back then. And so they didn't fit. So I had to like safety pin them shut. But I was like wearing them over my pants that had the burn a hole on them. And I had like 3 more classes that day.
I was going to say, did they think about sending you home?
That would have made a lot of sense. I would have been good to.
I would have been like, guys, I just caught fire. I'm going to go home. I'll see you later.
And one of the seniors who was always like really mean to me just pulled me aside and he was like, hey, you're okay, right? And I'm like, what? He's like you didn't.
Did you burn your dick
He's
off?
like, you didn't burn your. Yeah. I'm like, no, I'm good. And he's like, okay, good.
Because we're going to make fun of you forever.
He's like, I will continue to give you shit, but I'm just glad you're okay. And I was like, oh, you're actually not mean. You're a regular person.
It's like, shut up, dickwad!
Yeah.
Shoving the locker.
I've also launched a bottle rocket off my crotch for no apparent reason. That was like a 4th of July activity that was just, I don't remember how, I think it was like in a belt buckle or something. But I have a picture it's just the worst. I'm like lying in a driveway and there's but how I actually got the dumbest injury. Do you remember when they started making those I think Bacardi made those like pre-mixed mojitos?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and they were like show like bad 90s commercials that somehow made their way into the mid 2000s.
Yeah.
My friends and I were all like, those look great. We want to do those. We want to have mojitos. And so we like went out and got this like stupid mojito mix and we're like, yeah, mojito time. Like in the film Bad Boys or something. Like we're like, yeah, Miami Vice, whatever. And we just we got very drunk on mojitos. And I decided, I think somebody was in the bathroom or I was just being a nasty boy at my friend's house. A bunch of people are in the backyard smoking cigarettes. And I'm like, I have to go pee. I'm going to go pee in the side yard. And the side yard is off to the corner. And I go out there and there's a bunch of crap. It's my friend's house and there's just stuff everywhere. There's a yard waste bin that has like a bunch of branches and crap sticking out. And then there's an old, like one of those old like wheel out basketball hoop things.
Oh God.
And I go and I pee and I'm like, ha, mojitos, whatever. And I duck down to run past all the yard waste bins and I run full force. I wasn't even running. I was like sort of doing like a little solid snake jog or whatever. And I just go bong, like head first into the edge of the wheel out basketball hoop, that big like round. And I go, shit. All right, whatever. I walk around the corner and I go, well, that hurt. I bet you heard that. And everyone's like, Jesus Christ, what happened? And I'm pouring blood out of my face. So I have this large gash. I think I still have a little scar from it, from just running into a basketball hoop after too many of the mojitos. I wasn't even like shithouse drunk. I was just being a dummy.
Yeah.
Again, it was like a dumb thing, not a, not like even like a fully impaired thing. But I was just like, it's that part where your skin is like thin enough that you don't even notice.
Totally.
You're like, whoops.
That's why they blade during wrestling. That's why they cut up there, because that bleeds the most.
Exactly.
The
and so
impressive.
everyone was very upset and scared. And they were like, oh my God, are you okay? And I was like, get me paper towels and a bandana. We're making Band-Aids up here. And then I think I like texted my boss and I was like, Eric, I can't come in. I drank mojitos and ran into a basketball hoop. And he's like, that's fine. I was like, all right. But yeah, so that was definitely it. The mojitos and the basketball hoop, just full force.
Good Lord. I forgot. You mentioned the story back there. You were a big boy. I forgot about you. You were a big boy. What happened there? What happened? Why'd you quit? Did you lose the taste for pizza?
No, I miss it so dearly. No, I think I just got tall.
Yeah.
And I also walked everywhere, which is still what I do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was on like a bunch of like medications in middle school and early high school, and then I think I got off of them, and it was like stuff that just made me just like pack on weight and just extra hungry and sleepy all the time. And then I was like, I would get off of school and I would walk home, and that was like 2 miles without really thinking about it.
Sure.
And then I just suddenly grew like another 8 inches, and I was like, oh,
this is where this all goes.
Yeah, there was this wonderful like larval phase, which I think was actually like the Dickie shorts and long hair and like party shirts and stuff. And then like one day I just like cut my hair and like put on regular jeans, and I was like, oh, I'm a skinny boy now. This is weird. This is a surprise.
Yeah.
And the girls talked to me. It was cool,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope I've hit that phase one day.
Someday.
Get out of this larva, Barrett. Final question. comes from Josh Martin, who wrote into patreon.com/kindafunny. As a huge Star Wars and Boba Fett fan, I was wondering where your interest in the solemnly spoken character and the much beloved franchise came from. I love your insignia tattoo, and I may be ripping it off in the coming months.
Where is it? There is it. Just my only recommendation among my dumb, stupid tattoos is don't get it in the middle of your arm like a weird, large watch. This was my first tattoo. I love it because at the time, it did not have any canonical meaning in the Star Wars lore, and I think it gradually got some, and then that became uncanon, and now nobody knows what it means or if it's canon. It's just on Boba Fett's armor. I like to think it's like his "I voted" sticker or something. You know, it's like you gave blood today. I always like Boba Fett because he looks awesome, which I've had like a lot of conversations about this, but I think he's almost this like proto video game character, and that is kind of supported by the fact that he was a toy before he was in movies. Like he showed up as like the mail away action figure, and he's just got a bunch of dumb gimmicks. He's got like wrist rockets and spiky boots and jetpacks, and it's just like it's very much like he's very like you can pretend he's doing just about anything, and his job is to go track down other guys. So it's like this kind of it's very imagination friendly. And the fact that he doesn't say anything allows like enough room to kind of like make up your own rules. And I kind of hate it when they like added too much lore. I liked it when he was like this very mysterious kind of like terse figure. But yeah, like I got the toy when I was 9. I always thought that in terms of like character design, he's up there with like the Millennium Falcon as far as like this is what a gnarly ass used future Star Wars looks like.
Sure.
Like he's like all the other costumes are like either they're just kind of like cloth stuff or they are like shiny armor, and he's like this wonderful mix of both. So I really appreciated that. And then there's there's a bunch of comics, which especially if people are into Mandalorian, they should go check out, which are the Cam Kennedy, John Wagner Boba Fett one-shot comics from Dark Horse, and they're not canon anymore unless they are. You never know, but the whole thing was those are the guys who did Judge Dredd, which is basically the same character as Boba Fett. He's just this dude who you don't see his face, and he like shoots guys and he goes and captures them, and that's like it, you know. But it's just this like wonderful like, you know, it's like westerns except instead of horses they're riding flying motorcycles, and it's like that's fun. And I would just take my Boba Fett figure and go, you know, make him, you know, hunt down Beast from the X-Men, or you know, fight like the only TIE fighter pilot figure I had for no reason. Just be like, yeah, he's a renegade TIE fighter pilot. He's on the loose.
Go get him.
I don't have a TIE fighter, but he's out there. He's just got his, yeah.
Do you remember the first time you found Star Wars? Like what that was?
So yeah, I have a really weird, I was late to the party on that. I remember.
So Jake Lloyd said, I'm going to be in this movie, Phantom Menace.
Yeah, I was like, I'm lining up. I'm going to get these Pepsi cups. They're going to be good. No, I didn't have a VCR as a kid. Like we didn't get that until way later. So it was like a lot of kids had, you know, Star Wars as like a, you know, on the VHS tapes or whatever. I think, and my mom was never like, she was never like not into it. She was like, oh, my friends' kids went to that. I took them to see Empire Strikes Back. They're Wookiees. It's great. But she never made any effort to like indoctrinate me into it.
Yeah.
And I remember just sort of like, it kind of started getting popular in the like, maybe like 1995. I remember seeing like, Dark Horse Comics covers in Wizard, or like the Star Wars Galaxy trading cards, which are like really weird introductions to Star Wars because they're taking bizarre, risky reinterpretations of stuff that already exists, and stuff that came out in the late 70s when you're 8 years old in the mid 90s is like 1,000 years ago.
Ancient history.
It's so old. And I just remember being like, what are all these things? I confused it with Star Trek, which I didn't understand. People were excited about Next Generation. I didn't know what the hell that was. I didn't know what any of this was. I was just confused. And then I think like the new action figures started showing up, and I was like, yeah, these are all right. I had a friend who was like super stoked on Star Wars, and he and his dad had gone to all the yard sales and bought up all like the old 80s toys. And I remember just going to his house and being like, damn, these are sick toys. These are really cool. And then I remember like he had the old Rancor with the opening mouth, and he had like, I remember he had like a Yoda figure, and I was like, these are great. And I was like, wow, you could actually like fit this guy in here. And I totally just like shoved the Yoda in the Rancor.
Yeah.
And I was like, how do you get, there's no door. There's no way to get him out. And I just like put it down and like walked away. Just like, but then eventually it was a lot of that. It was like seeing other hand-me-downs and stuff, and kind of gradually being like, what is this universe? Like, what are these things?
Yeah.
And then eventually just kind of fell head over heels for it. The special editions came out, and I was like super stoked on it. At that point, I'd seen it on like USA repeatedly.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just like, I think I got into those books at like a really good time. I don't know. It just kind of hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, this is a fun, bizarre world, and it got me into like older classic movies, and then turned me on to a bunch of comics artists, and like yeah.
How much you missed Wizard Magazine?
Oh God, so much.
Got me too.
Actually, I just realized I played a Star Wars video game before I saw Star Wars. I had a babysitter who had Dark Forces installed on his like PC, and he was like, "You want to play Dark Forces?" And I was like, "What on earth is that?" And he's like, "Check it out." And he pulls it up, and I'm like, "Oh, so it's like Doom. Cool. All right, let's play this." And I was like, "It's got any cheat codes?" And he's like, "Does it have cheat codes?" And he's like, "Ellie, I'm lame." Yeah, and just jumped around a bunch, did a bunch of bullshit, and was like, "This is cool. I would like to find out."
I'm in.
Yeah,
I'll dedicate my life to this franchise.
But it was a really weird kind of roundabout way to get into Star Wars.
Sure, yeah. It wasn't the movie.
It wasn't just like, I saw it when I was little and I loved it. And it was like, no, just toys, games, comics. And then suddenly I was like, oh, there's a movie too? All right, fair enough, yeah.
Oh, man, they're really going far with this IP. Yeah. Putting in the moving pictures now.
Yeah.
Max, we love you. Thank you so much for coming by.
Thanks for having me, man.
Sorry it's taking so long. Come here. You're so tall.
It's the thing I love about you, Greg, is you're also very tall.
Yeah, but you make me feel so small. Yeah. I don't feel tall around you at all.
No, I feel like you're deceptively tall,
Yeah. I lean down in photos a lot, so I hide it really well, yeah.
I feel like both of you are just like really tall and just want to brag about it right now. It's really cool.
That's right there. That's what's happening. That's what happens
here. A lot
of
people don't know this. Barrett's about 6'8". He's got these long legs.
Don't patronize
long legs. You can patronize Barrett on patreon.com/kindafunny.
Barrett's like a medium-sized Watto. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been We Have Cool Friends. Irregularly, we are back talking to our cool friends. We will be back next week, I should tell you. Ray Narvaez Jr., twitch.tv/brownman himself, will be coming through to talk to us. Max, where can people keep up with you?
You can find me on Twitter or Instagram at Max Scoville. You can check out all the stuff I'm doing on IGN. On IGN.com or on the many various apps and whatnots. You can check out the Comedy Button, preferably not with the very first episode.
Go back, watch them all the way through.
Listen all the way through. I think episodes like 131 through like 179 are actually on video. The rest are just audio only, but that's you can go support that. It's comedybutton.com or patreon.com/comedybutton. God, is there anything else? I'm trying to think if there's anything good.
That's the big stuff. Your social point in the right direction. That's how it usually works.
Yeah, check out the stuff I'm doing on Instagram. I'm making a lot of like little miniatures and model kits, trying to do more artsy fartsy stuff on there. Made a tutorial on how to make small trees, so you can check that out. Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
Or just go watch the video game stuff on IGN, whichever.
Do I not follow you on Instagram? I haven't seen this.
I don't know if you do.
I'm gonna follow you. I want to double check.
Do it, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, until next time, it's been our pleasure to serve you.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming.